My name is Anuj Sachdeva. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Clovity. We are an Atlassian Platinum partner, and we have a prominent presence within higher ed. Um, Dave.
Yeah, hi, Dave Rayum. I am the Director of Sales for SLED, so State and Local Government Higher Education here at Atlassian.
Hi, everybody. Cameron Starman, Senior Director of Client Management for Clovity, and with a heavy focus on the higher ed and SLED practice.
Yeah, so I'll be moderating the session, and then Dave and Cameron will be chiming in. So Dave, and let's start with you. Actually, I mean, as you can see, especially given the climate and SLED in general, and with the new administration, how do you see this whole noise affecting from a budget challenge within higher ed space?
Yeah, no, there's definitely, in the industry, we'll say, a lot of challenges that are coming down the pike. For faculty, for staff, for students, for the Office of the President, for all of college, university, campus life, it's affected, right? And so what we're seeing as a summation of it is limited IT budgets. So budgets are becoming under scrutiny and pressurized. Or under pressure. We see at the same time, simultaneously, an increase in demand for tools or systems, applications, etc. The proportional amount of funding doesn't quite match the demand that we're seeing in the industry for these colleges and universities. And really the pressure to reduce operational costs as a result of all of that. So yeah, I mean, it's out there, it's real in the ether, and we're working the best we can to be a good partner and steward through it all.
So technically, what you're saying is it's an opportunity in chaos, because given the way Atlassian is strategically positioned in the systems of work, it's actually an opportunity then for all of us to see.
I think technology always kind of comes in at that focal point, right? And I think Atlassian is with their tools and their offerings. I think there's a very real opportunity here to knock out some of these old legacy systems, knock out some of these things that aren't working so well. And I know there's a little bit of fear out there because nobody likes switching tools, and it's not always easy to get everybody on board for that. But I think there's so much out there in terms of automation and new workflows that can be created. It's just going to take a lot of workload off of administration staff, off of teachers, off of facilities, security. There's so many different things where you can really kind of come in and make a difference. You got to make a little change up front, but honestly, it's so worth it in the long run.
Yeah. So Dave, that reminds me one more question. Are you seeing more unilateral decision making now, given sort of the budgets are constrained? So the decision making is faster, or it's still sort of more sort of multiple levels? Given the product is very positioned not just for one thing, it could actually span across the university or campus.
That's a great question. I think really what we're finding from our customers of industry is that there's sprawling tech usage, there's sprawling different tools and disparate systems, and across the campus, there's different divisions that don't know left or right what they're doing. And so really that's where we can act as a good partner, where we've been trying to act as a good partner, is coming in with an informed point of view on how we can create a unified infrastructure where all divisions know left and right hand what each is doing, and it's all aligned, it's rolled out in a pragmatic fashion. And so, those are, to answer your question, some of the findings that we're seeing from our customers is that, really just fragmented, tech stack and sprawling.
So actually, then that calls for tool rationalization with Atlassian. Actually, that's a good segue. So what all products are you seeing, especially with the Team 25 announcement with Focus and with Talent, and then with obviously Rovo being part of it? What all products do you really see fitting into the new world of higher ed?
Yeah, so Team 25 in Anaheim, California this past year is our flagship annual conference. And we had a lot of representation from the SLED community, so state and local government, higher education, and beyond. And some of the keynotes and the customers that were there on stage talking to the improvements that they've made, especially as it relates to new products and offerings, it was enamoring. And so, there were some of course, with the buzz in the industry with artificial intelligence, that's everything, right? And so our product called Rovo is AI built into the Atlassian suite of products across the board. While on stage, our founder, Michael Kinnan-Brooks, MCB, announced that Rovo will be included on cloud editions now, complimentary. And it's really to kind of help our customers continue to scale their usage, continue to gain efficiencies with the technology. And so there's Rovo, right? But then alongside that, we've announced collections. So there's strategy collection, there's teamwork collection. And what that is it's a collection of numerous different applications that we offer. And, really the goal of it is to get from leadership all the way down to, surface level, all parties aligned, engaged, and working on the same goals and objectives at the very top, driving that uniformity across the campus.
Yeah, no, I can actually personally talk about this because we have been sort of looking at this very closely with few campuses. I mean, the strategy collection especially is actually a great thing, especially the merger of the whole Jira Align piece and the focus piece and then talent. It's a right solution for the sort of the higher ed, as you said, when you can actually see the portfolio of the portfolios, and not just that could also go into talent space. And then combined with free Rovo, that's like slam dunk in my opinion. Cameron, what's your perspective?
I mean, I'm excited about the new tools, but I'm also I love Jira, JSM, and Confluence together, like as a complete workflow and solution where you can have long-term project planning, short-term service requests, and knowledge management that runs throughout all of it. Like, I think the overlays that you guys were just talking about, very important. I think what that does is that gives that even greater strategic element that I think not only higher ed, but government and enterprise, I think that everybody needs it, right? For a long time, we've kind of there just hasn't been the connections with the people doing the work and the people sometimes making the decisions as well as it should be, right? Like, obviously we've gotten to this point, but I think there's a something now, like, what Dave just said, we can really start to connect all these things and start to build out kind of just this really beautiful ecosystem of understanding and the heads talking to the hands and vice versa.
Yeah, because if I'm on campus, regardless of, where I am on campus or which division I'm on campus, or if I'm a student, et cetera, faculty, staff, I want to know where the one place to go to get support for anything is that I need. And so I think really, that's the goal, is how do we help, colleges and universities simplify their tech stack, integrate their tech stack, and provide that seamless interface or means to be able to get what they need faster, more efficiently.
And also stop scaring IT security with a bunch of different instances that they don't know about.
So if I may sort of summarize what you both said, actually the way we have to look at it is almost what Cameron is saying is Jira, Confluence, sort of project management, knowledge base, and JSM can be the foundation. And then you have Jira, the strategy collection piece, which sort of elevates it further at the executive level. Combine it all with Rovo, the AI. That's like a package for success for university. Basically, all of it together. You can solve the whole service management piece. You can solve the project management piece, and then now you start to plug in the apps.
Yeah.
That actually solves the whole end-to-end piece, the process transformation, which is sort of what these universities really need today.
And on that point, Anush, some of the buzz, we'll call it the electricity at Team 25, when those presentations were done and they came off stage, the swell from our customers, some of them saying, whatever that was, I have to have it. And so on that point, one of the demonstrations showed just how powerful this can become for instance, for campus life. We're all in a lot of phone calls every single day, virtual telephone calls, et cetera. One of the new products is Loom. And so Loom allows you to video record your conversations like a teleconferencing technology should. And after the call is done, it sums up the conversation, who is in it, what the objectives of the call were, what was discussed, what the action items or takeaways were, and who is tasked with those items. Once that's done, it summarizes it and pops it into a Confluence page, mentioning the appropriate parties with what the call was and the takeaways, and creating tasks for teams in Jira to execute on holistically and together as a team.
Wow.
So you can see just how connected we're thinking about the future of campus life.
Not to mention, actually, Loom is one of the fastest growing product, and from what I read was apparently it's saving like 50% of the meetings. You could just record and send Loom videos, and it just saves a lot of dollars for the campus actually. So there's an ROI right there also. How do you see the products fitting into various use cases within university? Because I know ITSM is a slam dunk, but what other areas do you see it's fitting in?
Yeah, no, and that's, from the best thing that we can do is listen to our customer. And, obviously extending off of what we talked about earlier, the pains or the challenges that are faced by these colleges, universities, our goal is to listen, to get on site with them, to understand, where they're faced with challenges. There's a few areas that come to mind. So, when you talk about ticketing, really it's universal, right? No matter the case, no matter what you're tracking, what you're trying to get fixed or solved. A few of them that have bubbled up to the top lately from what we've seen from our customer base are things like facilities and maintenance ticketing. And we use JSM for that, right? Reporting, for instance, if there's broken elevators or HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning repairs that are needed. And really making sure that there's a centralized, pragmatic fashion in the way that those tickets are responded to. And for us, it's done through our Jira Service Manager JSM tool, right? So there's just one example of what we're seeing. It extends to things like tracking requests from classrooms. So for instance, if the air conditioner is broken in a specific classroom, right, that can be a ticket that can be responded to and automated for repair and follow-up. And then finally, maintenance scheduling, right? Because maintenance and the fleet that responds to these things, they always have to stay on schedule with making sure that, student life is taken care of and that they're healthy and safe on campus. And so really just assigning specific teams to certain tasks that is their goal to get replaced and on time, efficiently, every time.
Actually, Cameron, so what I know Dave talked about a few areas. I really like that example.
We're already so busy, and in higher ed, they're often doing more with less, more often than not. And they're busy. They're taking care of thousands of students, and it's just the more that we can automate some of those lower level tasks, but still have that kind of high quality output that comes from it. I just think it's really going to change how Again, we do all of our work, higher ed or otherwise.
So we can potentially look at it from obviously the traditional help desk. We can look at it from facilities. We can look at it from like extension to facilities HVAC. We can look at it from a classroom. We can look at it from a legal standpoint. We can look at it from HR.
Yeah.
We can look at it from marketing. Pretty much the whole gamut.
I think funding requests, like literally, at least for how I look at higher ed,
That's
JSM you could apply across the board,
the
like everybody could
government's
use it, and the other ones kind of fit in as well.
It's universal.
and given sort of the way this place is booming, there are more and more partners who are templatizing all this. So actually, that makes it much easier for the campus. So Dave, recently I learned, is this true? Like some of our competitors in the JSM space, they even charge. Like for approvers, they charge per seat, whereas the most sort of the price efficient is JSM, because all Atlassian charges is really for the person who's resolving it, as we call it, the resolver. Yeah. Walk us through sort of what's your perspective there, because the audience would like to know, because that to me is really sort of the key from a pricing strategy perspective, which the higher education should really know about.
Yeah. No, I think it aligns with one of Atlassian's core values, and that is doing right by the customer. And so in that vein, we've taken it to the street with our customers from our pricing perspective. With JSM in particular, if we're talking about ITSM and even beyond ITSM, there's other, technologies out there where you start to, get a tool implemented and set up, and you start to see all these other things that it can do, or we'll call it bolt-ons, that you can bolt onto the core technology.
Sure.
And so over time, what happens is tech sprawl, right? And you've got this big bill that you never thought from day one you were going to be faced with. Well, now you're faced with, and you've got to figure out how you come up with the budget to meet that and renew it, right? And so with us, it's about taking care of the customer, and specifically when you talk about ITSM and beyond, JSM, Jira Service Management, it's all included, right?
Wow.
We include it all. So, yeah.
So basically, the customer is not paying for like the classroom student who's raising a request. They're only raising it for the person who's actually solving the problem, which is like the resolver.
The agent.
Unlike the agent, thank you, yeah. Unlike a lot of competitive products, which actually do end up charging even for the person who's actually sort of literally raising the request.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that's correct. It's for the agent because we think that, if there's a user that's literally physically using the technology, that counts as a user, right? And for folks that need to use a product of the service that they offer, they should, be charged for that. So yeah.
And Cameron, I know you briefly mentioned about the asset piece on the HVAC. So
Yeah.
what's your? I think that's kind of what.
That's where you're reading my mind over here. I mean, yeah, I think the asset play is and again, it kind of in the same vein because a lot of competitors charge per asset, right? Which really makes you be way too strategic or kind of fine tuned when you're doing your assets. But where I think the modern version that honestly Atlassian kind of has created is everything can be an asset, right? I mean, we called out elevators or HVAC, like sure, but building a new building or campus security, right? Going through these different workflows that once they're set up, you make sure that no step in that process is missed. You're following compliance. You're following the kind of rules and guidelines of the administration of your entity. And so I think the automations. It's great because it takes some of the pressure off people, but it also makes sure that all of the necessary pieces are getting done each time. I don't know, Dave, anything you'd add to there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it extends, like we're saying, it's universal, right? Once you get it set up and implemented correctly, which takes a little bit of time, it's free rolling after that. So where you can extend it to numerous divisions, use cases, students, faculty, staff, whoever needs to use these systems and tools can have access to it, and it's rolled out, just how the rest of the university has it rolled out, so that there's no fragmented solution. And so that's key for things like, research management and lab coordination, right?
For sure.
Going into an example such as that to make sure that, they're, for instance, using our Confluence technology to, track research milestones and share it more broadly with other divisions across the campus. And so things like that.
So again, it goes back, if we templatize it right, it is usable across various departments.
Yeah.
And now actually the most important, which I know Atlassian is now strategically invested, AGC, Atlassian Gov Cloud, FedRAMP. How do you see that fitting into the higher education space? Because there is element of obviously sensitive data. There is a demand out there. We are seeing the demand. For the audience, again, if we can spend how does AGC fit into the higher ed world?
Yeah. So to Anuj's point, to your point, we rolled out AGC or Atlassian Government Cloud March of 2025. Made it generally available just after that, and so we've seen a major uptick and lots of demand coming from it. And even within our SLED division, specifically higher education, colleges, universities, FFRDCs, so federally funded research development centers, often, pair and partner with colleges, universities. And so we're seeing it take shape in some of those efforts where they've got to be able to house sensitive data, right? In conjunction with the federal, funded research and development centers. And so as a result, they need technology, and they need technology for things like ticketing and things like, sharing and collaboration and working with their teams on tasks. And so as a result, based off of the demand that we've seen in the industry, we came up with our Atlassian Government Cloud offering to be able to get them their tools in a more secure manner.
Yeah, no, it's actually very interesting, right? Because you see higher education, but then there's an element of higher education which is investing into sort of future innovation project which holds sensitive data. And that's where AGC could be a right solution for a lot of these universities and sort of higher education. Wow, that's pretty much. Yeah, no, so I think let me sort of try to summarize. So maybe on one hand, we are saying there is sort of the element of budget constraints, but then Atlassian fits right in because of the economies of scale. It can be implemented across various departments. With right automation, then the services cost, long-term OPEX cost can be reduced. With the asset being not charged per asset, that itself is a sort of a good cost reduction. And then on top of it, with AGC, there's a whole security element which fits right in. and not to say the least with the whole marketplace which Atlassian has, right? Then you start to extend your solution beyond even what you can fathom the core of sort of JSM or project management. Then that element, that's kind of how I see the whole segment of it. What's your perspective, Cameron, on sort of?
I think you kind of wrap that up nicely, and I think we've had several conversations, right, with these kind of federal. You used a cool acronym. I don't think I've heard it, but basically they're either doing lab research or something for either federal or other kind of like federal agencies, right? So we've had quite a few, and they are definitely looking at FedRAMP, and it's a lot of them right now are on DC data center, just to be clear. But I think there's a real opportunity for them to kind of take that next level up with Atlassian, with the offering of Atlassian Government Cloud, and I think their research will be propelled because of it. It's just going to give them, like you said, better collaboration. You're kind of sharing that knowledge, maybe between labs, maybe between different entities. But I think the more that we can, obviously there's sensitive data in there, but the more that we can share, the more we can collaborate, the more that each other kind of knows what they're doing within, the realms of who's supposed to know. I think that's just going to benefit us.
Dave, any parting thoughts? And
Yeah, no, I just, we're really excited to work within this space. It's our honor, and we owe it to our future workforce and, generations to come. And so, it's commendable the work that folks within this industry do every single day. And so it's on us to provide the tools they need to succeed. And so that's what we're here for, and we're here to partner with the colleges, universities, students, faculty, staff, office of the president, and make it all happen for them. So, but yeah, no, I think really it's just about alignment of the organization from top to bottom, and making sure that you have the objectives set to help guide the organization forward, and underneath that, making sure that everybody's aligned, tracking on their goals, and even something such as the analytics that are baked into the platform gives them robust detail on exactly the areas they're doing great in, some areas that may need improvement based upon the data and the usage of the tools that's occurring. And so that's one of the value drivers too for the higher education segment from what we're seeing. So excited to see what's next.
No, I think this is all growth, especially, and as I said, it's a great product. I should have mentioned this thing, but the other aspect which we are also seeing is not just the AGC thing, but the way this product has evolved, and now it solves like multiple use cases. That's kind of where the biggest value for the universities are going to come in, if I may say so. I think that especially, again, the consolidation and the whole end-to-end workflow. Good, thank you. Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, Dave. Signing off from here. More to come. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.